We're live.
Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to Chef's Plant Kitchen on 420. Happy 420, everyone. Yay! At 420, thank you for being part of the show. We are going to provide you with a little bit of medicinal cooking today, actually, but we're going to make ramen soup as promised on our last episode. So, I've got a few things started here. We're going to make ramen soup, and toward the end, we're going to show you how to infuse it a little bit, or part of it, for some of our crew that is up for it, and part of our crew that is not. And then, we're going to make a beverage of some sort. Yes, a infused cannabis beverage. So, I've got, I started things a little bit for sake of efficiency on the show, as you're aware I usually do. So I cut up some carrots. I've got them boiling back here because they take a little bit longer. So this ramen soup, as I mentioned before, is super easy to make because all you have to do is add chef's nutrient-rich base, like on my first episode, and that will give it all the flavor and nutrients that it needs. So right now, all I'm doing is sauteing some mushrooms and some shallots or onion. And I've got a little bit of water back here, maybe about a 3/4 gallon or so. I've got that coming up to sort of a light simmer in the back. I'm going to add my mushrooms and my carrots to it. I'm going to finish cooking these mushrooms. I've got my noodles that only take a few minutes to cook, like 3. And I think I'd mentioned to you before, give me a bag of the ramen noodles over there, the new one in the back, so I can show them what I'm using. I buy these from Costco. You can get them anywhere, but these are made from millet and brown rice. And it's a nice organic ramen noodle, and they do cook in just a matter of minutes. So I've already pre-cooked some of these al dente, really on the lighter side, which I'm just going to throw in the very last of the soup. So we'll leave that out so you can see it. I'm also going to grate some fresh horseradish, and I'm going to grate a little bit of ginger and fresh turmeric in there. Even though we've got some, I'm going to put some in the nutrient base. I'm going to put some more, because you know I'm a ginger freak. So, lots of mushrooms, some carrot, I'm going to put some peas, and the ramen noodles, and onion, and garlic. I think that's pretty much it. I'm not going to overload it today with a lot of vegetables. I might put a bean in there too, like garbanzo or something. All right? You can put anything you like in ramen, whatever you have in the fridge. Remember, it's all about resources. What you have in the fridge, use them up. I'm also going to put some fresh cilantro and fresh parsley to give it a little bit more flavor. And then I also am going to put some hot peppers. These are what we're going to infuse, and we're going to do a separate small batch of some really spicy and infused ramen noodle soup. So back to this. We're going to add these mushrooms to this pot back here so I can get the rest cooking. And remember, we use avocado oil. Get that nice and warm before you add the rest of the mushrooms. We're going to add some onion and garlic too to cook the onions. I took the mushrooms in, give them a little more flavor, give everything a little more flavor. Last one was a shallot I used, but it really doesn't matter what kind of onion you use. So we got that oil nice and hot now. Give that a second, and I'll throw the rest of these mushrooms in there. We'll saute those up, add those to the soup. And I got these. These are fun, aren't they? I'm going to add these mushrooms too. I'm going to add all these mushrooms. These are beautiful. White shishimji. Kind of Japanese mushroom. I love them. Okay. A little garlic, I think, is a good idea. Now remember, you're adding that nutrient-rich base, so you do not have to add extra onions and garlic. I'm doing it because I don't really have a lot of vegetables that I'm putting in this. I'm pretty much going with mushrooms and carrots and some bell pepper. So because of the lack of actual vegetables that I'm for this, I'm going to add actually some whole cloves of garlic and big chunks of onion, as you can see, as part of the vegetable. So just peel off that outside there, and I'm not going to mince this up. I'm just going to cut these cloves in half or a third, and throw them in with the mushroom sauteing. These carrots are done too, and I boil these carrots. I'm going to use this same water for my soup. Because those carrots were clean and organic. They came from Brown Rice Farm. They were super sweet. I hated to even put them in soup. They were so good raw. And I used all of the carrots that she gave me. Sunshine, I need more carrots. I'm coming this weekend to the farm. I need more carrots. I need more everything, actually. I used it all. I had a little bit of the spinach. I'll put that in the ramen. I'm almost out of the spring mix. I used all those vegetables. So I'm going to come get another load. Okay. Another load of mushrooms. I know it seems like a lot of mushrooms, but mushrooms really shrink down. So I don't think you can add too many of them. I think especially I've got a almost 2-gallon pot of soup back there. So I hope everybody had an awesome week. I just did before this show started, we did a Resources 101 episode. Not live, just recorded it and uploaded it. Or she's in the process of doing that now. So what that Resources episode's doing is just showing you some of the things that Chef stocks in his kitchen that are nutrient rich and ready to go and shelf stable, like this. Ramen noodles, or the lentils, or the quinoa, and hemp seed. It might seem expensive when you first bought it, but all this stuff lasts a long time, and most of it is shelf stable for months, if not years. So stock these things. You always have bags and bags of hemp seeds. You can't, the amount of nutrients that come from that, and different types of nuts that your family will eat either by the handful or that you can incorporate into the foods. Should be incorporating raw, healthy style nuts into your food all the time. Not roasted, salted nuts, raw nuts like pine nuts, Brazil nuts, unsalted raw cashews if you can find them. Costco has some raw nuts. They don't really have a lot, but they do have some. You can go to Trader Joe's and other places to get a larger abundance of raw nuts. And you can use some salted and roasted. Just try to buy lightly salted or pasteurized nuts that aren't quite so cooked all the way and all the nutrients cooked out. All right, so there's our first batch of mushrooms. Second batch of mushrooms almost ready to go. I'm going to clean these bell peppers because we're going to dice those up for some color in the ramen. And remember what I tried to tell you before, that if you have that nutrient-rich base made already, this one I actually pulled out of the freezer because I used all of that nutrient-rich base that I made on that episode that was stocked up in the Cambros in the fridge. I used it already, so I had that one last one backed up inside the freezer. Obviously, you should, if you can use it fresh and not freeze it, oh, that's great. But it's always nice to have a little bit of backup in the freezer. And then your soup should take you like this, 30, 40 minutes. All I did was start those carrots going. And I got the mushrooms started. Other than that, I really didn't done anything. So you're gonna see, oh, I did parboil those al dente, those ramen noodles. That's take 5 minutes, they cook really quick. And then beans, I'm gonna use canned beans. I do like to use dry beans and soak them, but for today we're just gonna use canned. Time for that. So this is another shallot. Again, I'm going to cook the rest of these mushrooms, so I like to put a little onion in the pan first. It's not a necessity. You can just cook your mushrooms in your avocado oil, but I like the flavor of the mushrooms sauteing in the garlic and or onion. Shallot's almost a combination of the two. It's not, but it does seem like it when you smell it and taste it. I hope everybody can see here. Kai, would you check this camera over here? I think we've got something going on. And my eyes are burning from that shallot. All right, a little bit of garlic in there as the last of our mushrooms. I should say last of the moonlight mushrooms. We're going to do these other ones separate. So there's our noodles. Here's our soup. Look at that, it's just a mushroom broth with carrots. So keep that warming on the back. This?
Yeah.
That's a short one. You want a longer one?
Yeah.
Actually, that's the only one I have back here.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so these don't really need to cook. They are so delicate and tender that warm soup water that I'm not really going to even bring to a boil, because everything I'm putting into the soup is already pre-cooked. And the reason that I'm doing it this way, y'all, is because we want everything al dente, because we're going to keep those nutrients in there. So that's why I do it this way, and you have that nutrient-rich base. So you don't really need to cook to try to get the essence out of these vegetables into the food. You've already created an essence right here. So these are just to add more nutrients and substance to your food. It does add flavor, of course, but mushrooms are almost there. We're going to put these right into the water, which is at a it's sort of like not at a simmer yet, but it's pretty warm, almost hot. We've got temperature on the rear at medium, so it's getting to that point to where it might come to a light simmer, and that'll cook those bell peppers just enough to keep them a little tender and still incorporate them into the soup. So, as soon as I get a nice al dente on these mushrooms, I'm going to add them. And I've got a little bit too much stock in here, so I'm going to take some out. Or I could just use a bigger pot. Let's do that. Chef's doing it again. Making too much food. larger pot. There we go. All right, so we've got our second batch of mushrooms in there. We're gonna add just a little bit more oil because I'm gonna do these little bitty mushrooms. It's gonna be one mushroomy ramen. Do we want to add them whole like that? They look so cool like that, don't they? We're going to cut them just in half so they're not too long. There's so many wonderful mushrooms out there now. You used to only build my moonlight mushrooms or maybe shiitakes if you were lucky, and now you can find all kinds of fun mushrooms. Okay. Now, you don't need to add this. I'm going to add some horseradish root because I have it. I found it in the store. I'm going to trim off the outside of it a little bit. And this stuff's kind of tough, so you don't really want to add chunks of it. I'm going to grate it for just to give it a little bit of a kick, besides the kick of a spicy jalapeno or serrano I have over there, which I'm going to add to part of the ramen too. But to the bulk of it, I'm going to add some of this horseradish grated. And this is not an important thing to do. I'm just doing it for fun and see what happens. All right. So I didn't grate very much in there. We'll try it out and add some more. I am going to add a little bit more ginger and turmeric as I promised. Again, not necessary because you have the nutrient-rich base, but this is a very big batch of ramen. And, I mean, that's a lot of base, but I've got 2 gallons or more back there, probably 3 almost, so I'm going to add a little bit more turmeric and ginger, just because it might need some more flavor. And I'm just going to mix it up real small. There we go. One thing, a couple tablespoons of fresh minced turmeric and ginger. And those are mushrooms, so beautiful. And if we need to add some more saltiness to it, we'll add some more of the bouillon. All right. I'm just going to add 1 hot pepper to the big bulk batch, and then we're going to infuse the rest of the hot peppers to add to a separate batch for whoever's up for those. If you add just 1 hot pepper with the seeds like that to a big batch of soup like this, it's not going to make it spicy, it's just going to bring the flavors out. So you don't have to worry about killing somebody that doesn't like spice if you're only adding 1 and you've got a big batch of soup. It's like if somebody says they don't like garlic. If you're adding some garlic to a big batch of soup, like, they're not going to taste any garlic. There's just not enough of it there to bother to really give them any kind of taste sensation. So I'm going to go ahead and move this off the stove to the front so that maybe we can see it. No, can we? I don't think so. We're gonna get some new camera setups that we have from the ceiling, so we can really do this. We're getting there, a little bit at a time. Okay, so that is our carrots, our onions, mushrooms, lots of mushrooms. I've got 1 hot pepper in there, 1 thing of ginger, 1 thing of turmeric, some garlic. Again, you could just get away with vegetables and the base and the ramen noodles. But we made a really big batch here, so I added some extra stuff. But look how fast I did it too. So there's our base. It's a little frozen, but it's going to melt really quick. Come on out of there. That's what's frozen. Okay, and that is it. Our ramen is pretty much done. See how easy that was? 30-minute soup if you have your base ready. And you don't even have to add all the goodies I added. All right. So, because I've got that frozen chunk of base in there, it was hot enough that it's melting it. I'm going to add my noodles. Wow, it's a huge pot. Look at all that. It's all right, we have a lot of hungry people that are looking forward to this. We are still feeding our Spanish friends visiting from Mexico down the end of the street. I'm sure they're going to love this. We'll have to take some of each batch over there and offer them infused or uninfused. Shall we? Yeah, we should. I think that they get it. They're from Mexico. They use a lot more plants down there. You know, capitalism and pharma isn't quite as strong. There's a lot of tribals, a lot of young, smaller communities, I think, embracing a lot of plants down there. So it's not quite as sheltered, shall we say, by pharma's deceit. Okay, I think that's it. Now we're going to show you how to infuse this. So there's our ramen soup. Look at that, Kai. How did that turn out? That looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I really should be sampling it. I really want to know if that horseradish comes out at all, because I'm going to want to add some more, I think. Oh wow, it's got a little kick. Well, 1 hot pepper and the horseradish definitely gave it a little bit of zip. But it's faint, it's on the tail end. Now, that was a lot of water for that 1 nutrient-rich base. That is almost 3 gallons I get. So it is lacking some salt content because we didn't have enough nutrient-rich base in there to add for such a huge pot. So I'm going to add a little bit of the bouillon to kick up the salt content in it. And then we're going to show you how to infuse it. So it's like 3 tablespoons of that. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about adding too much. I mean, you could add, if you had the whole container, it'd probably be salty, but I think that it can handle a pretty good amount of it. So it's a huge pot. And it's making my nose water. All right, so maybe the 1 pepper and combined with the horseradish might have been a little spicy for a child, but not my children. But be cautious if you've got somebody bucking spices. let Kai try it. See what she thinks. See if it needs more salt or not. Why? Okay. Now I'm going to cut up these hot peppers, and I'm going to add some sativa cannabis coconut oil to the pan and saute it with these hot peppers. And now my nose is running. And I'm going to put that in a separate stock pot with some of the ramen, so we have a separate infused pot of ramen. How about that? And that will do, that's for our 420 day. And then we're going to do a beverage of some sort. I've got some apple cider in the fridge. We could infuse that and have a cold or hot apple cider. Excuse me. Okay. Saute pan is back. A little bit of avocado oil. Let's move this over here. To cut up these serranos with the seeds. It's going to be really spicy. Maybe too much. Yes, probably too much. Oh, and I don't know why I did that. We don't need this avocado in the oil in there, do we? Because we're going to use butter. Totally forgot. Actually, it's not butter, it's coconut oil. I think coconut oil is easier to infuse and easier to work with than actual butter, which turns rancid easily. So, we'll have a different episode down the road where I can show you actually how to infuse coconut oils and maple syrup. So I've infused this whole gallon of maple syrup with a hybrid. If it's not labeled, it's hybrid. But I'm going to use a sativa-based coconut oil here. And I'm going to use a heavy tablespoon. I know how strong my butters are. There's our hot peppers. Yeah, it's gonna be spicy.
Don't make you cough.
Gonna be spicy. I hope the Spanish boys like it cannonized. Because it's going to be extra spicy the way they like it. You can't have any, Kai. Kai's got drug tests coming up. She can't have any cannabis. So, does this need more salt? Did you try it?
No, it's perfect.
Perfect. Oh, she says it's perfect. I don't know if I believe her. So, I wish they could see this. Can't even tilt the thing, it's so full. Oh, what I didn't do is put some parsley and cilantro. So I'm going to add that last, which is fine. And then also I want to get here's our other batch of ramen. It's going to be our infused batch, the smaller one. Gosh, it looks so good. Lots of mushrooms. Okay, there's our 2 different batches. Good stuff. And there's our, wow. Okay, serranos with the seeds. Woo! It's gonna be so spicy. Oh my gosh. There it goes. All right, some parsley and some cilantro for both of them. And then we're gonna do one simple, man, peppers again, Jimmy. We're gonna do infused hot apple cider with fresh ginger, of course. All right, so there's our hot apple, there's our cider. I know it's out of season. About some kale in our soup. This needs to be used up. Use what's in the fridge. So I'm gonna mix this kale. Oh, my nose is really running from all these peppers. Oh gosh, Gail. Kai, help me.
I tried to warn you.
You tried to warn me. Wow. Okay. I will survive. That's what I get for cooking spicy food. So I got this kale all chopped up real small. Because we're adding it after the fact, we're not going to cook it. It's just going in raw, and it will turn limp in the soup and still be very nutrient rich. Just I'm going to put a half of it in each one. It's pretty tender kale too. So there's our apple cider. I'm going to add some fresh ginger to it. I'm going to add some ginger juice to it. And then I'm going to infuse it. Thanks, Kai. She's on it. Sorry, we're a little haphazard today. It is 4:20. So, here's our fresh ginger. I'm going to leave the ginger pretty big because I'm going to take it out after it seeps for a little bit. I'm going to strain it out just to give it some flavor. And all we're going to do is add some of my infused maple syrup, which will make it a little bit sweeter, and it's going to give it that kick. Yum. So, that's it. I think that concludes the show. So we've got our regular ramen, our infused ramen. We did it with fresh farm carrots, a little bit of fresh farm kale, lots of mushrooms, and then our nutrient-rich base. And then I topped it off with a little bit of fresh minced parsley and cilantro. I'm gonna add now lots of cilantro. We've got our Spanish boys down the end of the street that love it. So we're gonna add loads of it. All right, and then we made an apple cider. I put in a little ginger. I'm gonna let it simmer for about 5 minutes with that ginger in there. And then I'm gonna strain the ginger out, and we're gonna have hot mulled ginger cider. I might add a little bit of ginger. of different products. I buy this organic ginger juice too, and I buy it in turmeric also. I'm going to add some of this to it also, so it truly is an apple ginger hot cider. All right, and I think that does it. Thank you for joining us. I hope this helps you with your next batch of soup using my chef's nutrient-rich base, veggie base, which is on the very first episode. Next week, on Tuesday at 4:20, we are going to make another soup out of this nutrient-rich base. We're going to make pho. I do believe that's going to be our mission. We'll hopefully stick to that. Hope everybody has a great week. We'll also be doing a little bit of filming, uploading some other things, so keep an eye out. Thanks for joining us today. Chef says bye.